What up, YouTube? I have another build video for you. This time I'm going to build a Blackout Super Spider Hex. I had so much fun once I got my Blackout Mini H quad flying. It's just a lot of fun flying it. So I decided to I was either going to rebuild that one and redo a couple things that I would do differently now that I know a little better. And or I thought, well, those hexes are cool, and then I can have a quad and a hex. So blackouts are real hard to get right now. And I went to check on Get FPV. They actually had a Super Spider Hex. Everything on Blackout is pretty much sold out. But the Super Spider Hex, which is the one with the 6-inch arms, was like hiding on a back page. It wasn't on the front page. So it was still in stock. So I went ahead and ordered it. And when I ordered it, it went out of stock. So I got the very last one. So yeah, I'm just going to do a build video. I'm not going to do a detailed build video like I did on the Mini H quad. I'm just going to show you the different steps that I have completed and what components I decided to use this time. And hopefully this one will go a little smoother than my last build on the quad. And yeah, here we go. Well, I got the arms on, and I kept on being subconscious the whole entire time, making sure that the arms were put on the right way. But on this kit, it seems like it doesn't matter which way the arms are put on. They're all gonna, come out of the body straight. And if you watched my mini quad build, you would know exactly what I'm talking about when I put those arms on backwards. So just gotta wait for the motors to come in and the ESCs. Okay, so motors and ESCs came in. For the motors on this setup, I decided to put on these 2204s, 2300 kVA. And I only plan on running 3S. And then for my ESCs, just 12 amp T-motor ESCs. I use Luminaire on my quad, and I really like those Luminaires, but they discontinued them. So, I'm going to start adding the motors to the frame. Okay, so it's like a week later because I didn't have any motor mounting screws. So I got them off of Amazon, 100 pack for $7. They're M3 by 6mm. So what I did is I mounted one motor and I soldered on one ESC. And instead of guessing the direction of the motor rotation and then doing all of them and then having to like redo half of them, I'm gonna go in I have the servo checker, so I'm gonna go and attempt to, I put on the temporary just power cable here. I'm just gonna go and attempt to find the motor direction this way, see if this servo checker works. I got this off of eBay a while ago for servos. It works good for servos. I haven't tried it on these ESCs, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so here we go. Let's hope I don't smoke anything. That's funny, that sound I always thought was from the flight controller, not the ESCs, but it comes from the ESCs. So, let me turn the knob. And it works. Let's see what direction it's rotating. Okay, it's definitely rotating counterclockwise. So just turn it a little bit. Yep, it's rotating counterclockwise when I have the wires hooked up straight across to the ESC. So I'll use that as a guide when I do all of them, and then that way I won't have to redo any of them. And for those of you wondering, when I smoked the ESC last time, this time I decided to put the heat shrink underneath it so I don't smoke anything. And on my last one, I got the heat shrink on and just kind of cut it away, but that looked kind of crappy. So this time I'm actually gonna heat shrink everything up, brand new. And I went out and bought a Harbor Freight heat gun. Since I didn't have a heat gun, there was a coupon, got this for $8. So hopefully it'll work good. I'm sure it will. Heat guns are pretty simple. Can't see how Harbor Freight can mess that up. So now it's time to do this for all of them. And in case you were wondering, I looked it up. This motor, which is motor number 4, is supposed to be turning counterclockwise. Oh no, it's supposed to be turning clockwise, and it was turning counterclockwise, so I had to switch the leads. So you had to switch the leads for clockwise, you had to wire them straight for counterclockwise, and I'll just go around. And on the hexacopters, it's just clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise. So you just alternate. Well, I got all those ESCs soldered on, and used the servo tester to check rotation and operation. And so far so good. I'm not going to shrink the heat shrink till I get the NAS32 wired up. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, you had to reflash the firmware on these FrSky's D4R2s so that you can use all 8 channels in CPPM mode. And to be cheap, and I know what you're saying, you being cheap, you're building a hexacopter, a Blackout hexacopter. That's not being cheap at all. But I'm trying to be a little cheap. I'm using my FTDI chip that's on the old Arduino I had. I pulled the chip out. I made some makeshift cables to connect the FrSky to the FTDI chip. And then I went and I re-flashed the FTDI chip to invert the RX and TX outputs, which is what you need for FrSky to flash an FrSky. And I flashed it this way with things I had on hand. And then I'll unsolder these things and I'll reuse this cable for the hexacopter. And that was a little scrap piece from when I was pulling out the 5 volts on the ESCs. Okay, I soldered up my NAS32 board. I put on a servo connector for the CPPM data for the FrSky device. I put it on the telemetry. Oh, I'm gonna get made fun of for that, for the little JST connector for the port, and I took out the extra wires. And then I just have 2 wires for the battery for the telemetry, and that's gonna go to the power distribution board. And then there was another YouTuber that makes these. He has a hex build video. He recommends putting the right angle connectors on the bottom facing backwards to make it look neat. So I did the same. So now it's time to install it into the quadcopter. Oh, it's not a quadcopter, hexacopter. So I got everything connected together, and I loaded Clean Flight on this NAS32. And then I went out and I decided to not go cheap on the transmitter because I wanted that telemetry. So I got a Tyrannus, FrSky Tyrannus. And I probably spent 8 hours between trying to use Clean Flight and trying to configure this transmitter because there's so many options on this transmitter.
Welcome to OpenTX.
And you know what?
Switch warning.
You see, there's a switch warning, but I had to have the switch warning like that because I had to have the switch like that because I have it set up so that it's gonna change the PID settings based on these 3 switches, so that way I can tune in air. So I don't know how to change that switch warning to accept it to leave this one in the center so it doesn't change the settings. But like I said, it probably took 8 hours to configure this and get all this set up. But you know what? I probably have it flyable right now. So I had to decide whether I'm going to leave the FPV gear off, which I think I might. I think I might go and put the cover on this, get the proper battery, and just attempt to fly this to see how it goes, just for a test. And then once everything tests good, I'll heat shrink the shrink wrap up and maybe put the FPV gear on. But yeah, it was a big learning curve between Clean Flight and this receiver. And getting telemetry set up took a long time because Clean Flight, the newest version of Clean Flight, does not support telemetry. It will not work. It'll seem like it's working, but it won't work. So once I figured that out, I had to downgrade to a older version of Clean Flight on this, and then I got telemetry to work. So now I can have the battery voltage you know, I'll actually know my battery voltage, so I don't kill any batteries. So that's pretty much it for this video. I'm going to wrap it up here and post this video, everything I've done so far on this Blackout Super Mini Hex.